This is an analysis from Alpha Business Media.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is January 31st, 2026. And if you walk into any corporate office in Kathmandu right now, things probably feel, well, manageable.
Yeah, quiet.
The New Year rush is done, decorations are away. It feels like most businesses are just settling into a quiet Q1 rhythm. Like there's plenty of time before the madness starts again.
It's the calm before the storm. Or if you believe the research we're looking at today, it's actually the eye of the storm.
Right. Because we're digging into a report called Dashain Sales 2026, Stop Burning Cash on Acquisition. And the central argument is, it's pretty jarring.
Yeah.
It basically says if you're waiting until the monsoon ends to plan for Dashain, you've already lost.
Well, you haven't necessarily lost the ability to make sales. You can always buy sales if you have enough money. But the report argues you've lost the battle for profitability.
And that's a concept the authors are calling the Dashain paradox. I'm going to start there because it completely flips the traditional retail calendar on its head.
It really does.
Usually we think of retail as linear, right? You plan in the summer, you execute in the autumn. Why is that model so broken?
It's broken because of what's happening on the servers, not in the shops.
Yeah.
We tend to look at the Nepali market from, say, Bhadoja to Kartik, that's roughly September to November, as this golden window.
Right.
The economy just transforms. You have bonuses hitting bank accounts. You have this massive influx of remittances. Some estimates put it at 30 to 35% of the total annual remittance flow coming in right then.
It's a cash flood. People are liquid, and they are actively looking to spend. It's cultural, it's economic, it's everything all at once.
Exactly. And because of that, every single brand, I mean, from automotive to instant noodles, from high fashion to budget smartphones, decides that this is the moment to spend 60 or even 70% of their annual marketing budget.
So they're cramming an entire year's worth of shouting into a 90-day window.
That's it.
I feel that as a consumer. You open your phone in October, and it's just an assault on the senses. Every scroll is a different offer, red banners everywhere.
It's an arms race. And the source material calls it a margin-destroying arms race. And this is the core of the paradox. We see all these press releases in November, right? Boasting about record-breaking revenue.
Highest sales ever, all that.
Right. But the report argues that for many companies, these are just vanity metrics.
That's a strong claim. If the revenue is real, why is it vanity? I mean, money in the bank is money in the bank, isn't it?
Not if it cost you more to get it than you kept. Because revenue isn't profit. If you actually look at the P&L sheet, the company might be bleeding. They move the product, sure, but the cost to get those customers, the customer acquisition cost, or CAC, was so inflated during that window that it just ate up all the margin.
Okay, let's dig into that inflation. I think most people get that ads cost money, but I don't think they realize just how volatile that pricing is.
Yeah.
Why is Q3 specifically a margin killer? Is it just because everyone is posting at once?
It comes down to a really basic economic mismatch, a demand shock versus a fixed supply. Think about the digital landscape in Nepal. You have the platforms we all use, Meta, TikTok, local giants like online Hababar or Hammer Bazaar. That's your supply of ad inventory.
A number of eyeballs, basically.
Exactly, the space to show ads. And that supply is relatively fixed. It grows a little bit year over year, but it doesn't just double overnight.
Right. People don't suddenly grow a second pair of eyes just because it's Gatastapana. The audience size is the audience size.
Exactly. The supply of attention is finite, but the demand from advertisers, it explodes by a factor of 10. You have the auto sector launching new EVs, FMCG pushing festive gift packs, electronics, mobile phones. Everyone is bidding for that same digital real estate at the exact same second.
So it becomes an auction.
A brutal auction. The report calls it the ad apocalypse, and the numbers they show are staggering.
Walk us through the math. What does this inflation actually look like for a business? Because I think business owners feel the pain, but maybe they haven't put a number to it.
Okay, let's look at CPM cost per mil, which is just the cost to show your ad 1,000 times. In a quiet month like Falgunso, February or March, 1,000 impressions might cost a brand, say, NPR 200. It's cheap. It's efficient.
Okay, so NPR 200 to get in front of 1,000 people. That seems extremely manageable.
But then you fast forward to Ashwin, that same slot, that same audience, those same 1,000 impressions, it can spike to NPR 600 or even NPR 800.
So we're talking about a 300 or 400% markup just to be seen, not even to get a sale, just to show up on the screen.
Precisely. And this is what destroys the unit economics. Let's take a scenario from the source to make this real. Imagine a mid-sized electronics retailer. They're selling a smartphone,
Mm.
and let's say their gross profit margin on that phone is NPR 4,000.
Okay, 4,000 profit in the bank per unit. Sounds healthy enough.
Normally, yes. But in Q3, because of that CPM inflation, their customer acquisition cost might jump to NPR 4,500 to acquire a cold customer.
Wait, if the margin is 4,000 and it costs 4,500 to get the customer,
They're losing NPR 500 on every single phone they sell.
they're literally paying the customer to take the phone. That seems insane. Why would anyone do that?
They do it for market share or to clear inventory. It's a loss leader strategy, but for many businesses, there's no long-term payoff because these are one-time festive shoppers. They aren't coming back in January.
Right.
The report describes this environment as a red ocean. Consumers are just bombarded with identical Dashain offers. There's ad fatigue, click-through rates drop, and so brands panic and spend even more just to get noticed.
Sounds like a treadmill of doom. You run faster, spend more, and get less. But if everyone's doing it, isn't that just the cost of doing business? Or is there actually a way out?
There is a way out, but it requires doing the exact opposite of what the market is doing. The report calls this the elite strategy. The solution isn't to fight harder in Q3, it's to refuse to play the game entirely.
Refuse to play. You can't just skip Dashain. That's commercial suicide in Nepal.
You don't skip the sales, you skip the auction. The alternative is the audience's asset model. The goal shifts from buying customers in September to earning an audience from January to June.
So doing the work now, in the quiet months.
Yes. And it requires a real mindset shift. You have to stop viewing the audience as just a target for a campaign and start viewing them as a balance sheet asset, like intellectual property or machinery.
You want to move from renting attention?
From Facebook or Google, which is expensive and volatile, to owning the relationship with the customer.
Owning the relationship is a phrase marketers love to use, but what does that actually mean in practice? It sounds a bit abstract. Are we talking about loyalty cards?
No, it's actually very concrete. It means capturing first-party data, emails, phone numbers, pixel data on your website. If you have a customer's phone number and permission to use it, you don't need to pay Mark Zuckerberg NPR 800 to talk to them. You can send them a message directly for pennies.
Okay, I get the logic. Costs are lower now.
Significantly. In Q1 and Q2, the big players are quiet, the auction pressure is low. Acquiring a lead might cost you NPR 80 right now versus that NPR 400 plus per click you'd pay in the Dashain heat.
But here's the problem, and I think this is where a lot of businesses get stuck.
Yeah.
How do you actually build an asset in February? You can't just run ads saying, hey, give me your email because Dashain is coming in 8 months. Nobody's going to do that.
No, that definitely wouldn't work. It's all about a value exchange. You use these quiet months to provide value and capture data. You have to solve a problem they have now, not a problem they'll have in October.
The source had some really specific examples of this. I'd love to walk through the paint company example because I thought it was brilliant. It felt very applicable to the Nepali context.
It really was. So imagine you're a paint brand. Traditionally, you'd wait until just before Dashain when everyone paints their house, and you'd just blast ads, but that's when ads are most expensive.
Right. And everyone else, Asian Paints, Burger, Pashapati is doing the exact same thing.
So instead, this company looks at the calendar. What happens before Dashain? The monsoon. And what does the monsoon do? It ruins walls, dampness, fungus, leakage. So in Chaitra, that's March or April, when nobody is thinking about painting yet, they run a content series on how to prep your home for the monsoon.
That's smart. It's solving an immediate pain point.
Exactly. They aren't selling paint, they're selling a solution to damp walls. They offer a downloadable checklist or a video guide, 5 steps to waterproof your home. To get it, you just have to drop your Viber contact or your email.
And the result of that.
They get a self-selected list of homeowners who care about their property. That is an incredibly high-value list. These aren't just random internet users. These are people who actively want to maintain their homes.
I love that. It filters the audience for you. Instead of shouting at a stadium, you're whispering to the people who actually need what you have.
What about the financial sector? That's another huge spender during the festivals.
The report suggested offering a free Dashain budget planner Excel template, but, and this is the key, launching it in Baisakh, April or May. April. Isn't that way too early? Who is thinking about their Dashain budget in Baisakh?
Not the average impulse buyer, but the people you want as high-value customers. They are. Financial stress starts way before the spending starts. People worry about how they're going to afford the goats, the clothes, the travel, so you offer a tool to help them plan.
The consumer gets peace of mind, and the brand gets a list of financially conscious, planning-oriented consumers.
Precisely. And there was one for fashion, too, about initiating communities in the spring. A sustainable fashion forum, a photo contest. The key takeaway in all these examples is that you're trading content and community for data. You're building a list that you own.
Okay, so let's play this out. You spent 6 months building this list. You've been helpful, you've been present, and now you have thousands of phone numbers or pixel data. It is now Bhadra. The ad apocalypse has begun. Everyone else is screaming, discount, discount.
Yeah.
What does the builder brand do?
They activate the dormant asset. This is where the magic happens. It's called retargeting, but it's retargeting with context.
How is that different from just running a standard ad?
Well, instead of running a broad ad to 5 million people and just hoping someone cares, the brand uses that collected data to run highly specific ads just to the people they already know.
So, going back to the paint example.
The paint company sends an ad specifically to that monsoon prep list. And the message isn't generic. It's, you prepped for the rain, now prep for the festival. Since you're part of our community, here's a 15% exclusive voucher.
That feels personal. It feels like a continuation of a conversation, not an interruption.
Precisely. And the metrics flip completely. First, retargeting is way cheaper because the audience is defined. You aren't paying to reach the whole country. But more importantly, the conversion rate, the CVR, skyrockets.
Give me the numbers. What kind of difference are we talking about here?
A cold audience in Q3 might convert at, say, 0.5%. That means for every 200 people who click, maybe one buys. It's horribly inefficient. But a warm, retargeted audience, they can convert at 5%, sometimes even 8%.
That is a massive difference. You're getting 10 to 16 times more sales from the same amount of traffic just because that trust is already built.
It's the definition of working smarter, not harder. You're harvesting the crop you planted in the spring while everyone else is trying to forage in a barren forest.
The source material actually broke this down into a case study comparison, which I found really helpful to visualize the financial impact. They compared the burner versus the builder.
Yes, this brings the theory right down to the bottom line. So imagine two fashion brands, brand A and brand B. Both have a marketing budget of NPR 50 lakh for the year. That's their limit.
Okay, so same resources.
Right.
Let's look at brand A, our burner.
Brand A follows the traditional path. They hold on to that cash. They stay quiet in Q1 and Q2. Then they spend all 50 lakh in Q3. They blast cold audiences with massive discounts to compete with all the noise.
The spray and pray method.
Exactly. And the result, they probably get high revenue numbers. They moved a lot of inventory, which looks great on a PowerPoint for the board meeting. Look, boss, 5 crore in sales. But their customer acquisition cost is enormous because of that ad inflation we talked about. And because they had to discount so heavily to get attention from strangers, their net margin is razor thin. The report estimates it's around 2%.
So they moved 50 lakhs worth of ads to make pennies. That feels like a lot of effort for very little actual reward. Now contrast that with brand B, the builder.
Brand B splits the budget. They take a bit of a risk. They spend NPR 15 lakh right now in Q1 and Q2 on that content, the monsoon guides, the community building. Then they spend the remaining 35 lakh in Q3.
So they actually have less firepower during the festival itself. That sounds scary.
They do have less cash for the festival push, and their top-line revenue might even be slightly lower than brand A's because they aren't casting as wide a net. However, they're spending that 35 lakh mostly on retargeting that warm audience they built.
So their acquisition cost is way down.
70% lower. And this is crucial because they're selling to people who already trust them. They don't always have to offer the steepest discount. They aren't competing on price. They're competing on relationship.
I see.
So their net margin ends up being a healthy 15%.
2% margin versus 15% margin. That is the difference between surviving and thriving.
Brand A wins the revenue battle. Brand B wins the war for profitability. And in a volatile economy like ours, cash flow and profit are what keep you alive to fight another year.
This seems so obvious when you lay it out like this. The math works, the logic holds up, but the report mentions that this is actually really hard to execute. Why? I mean, if it's so smart, why isn't everyone doing it?
It's the hard truth of the strategy. It requires two things that are very rare in modern business: patience and nerve.
Nerve.
Yes. Because you're asking a CEO to spend money in February for a payoff in October. Imagine being a marketing manager. You go to your CEO today in January and say, I want to spend 15 lakhs on a blog about monsoon home prep.
Right.
The CEO asks, what's the ROI next month? And you have to look him in the eye and say, 0.
That is a very tough conversation to have in a boardroom that is obsessed with quarterly results. You're basically saying, trust me, this will work in 9 months.
It is. But the second challenge is even harder. Fast forward to September. Your competitors are panicking. They're boosting posts. They're screaming about sales. They are everywhere. The CEO comes to you and feels the pressure. Why aren't we shouting as loud as them? We need to spend more. It takes immense discipline to say, no, we trust the asset we built. We stick to the plan.
So it's not just a marketing challenge. It's a cultural challenge within the company. It really tests the leadership.
Absolutely. But the source argues that the market is at a strategic inflection point. We're going to see a divergence in the Nepali retail sector.
2 paths for the future.
Scenario 1 is the status quo. The small businesses just get squeezed out.
Yeah.
If you're a small player, you cannot win a spending war against a multinational that can afford loss leaders. If you play the burner game, you will eventually burn out. You simply run out of cash.
And scenario 2.
Scenario 2 is that the builders emerge. These are the companies that attract smart capital. Investors are getting smarter too. They don't just want to see revenue growth anymore. They want to see the unit economics. They want to see that you can acquire a customer for NPR 500 and make NPR 2000. They want to see a machine that actually works.
And the report touched on where this goes next, right? Because capturing an email address is just step 1. It feels like this is just the beginning of a data-driven approach.
Yes, the evolution is toward personalization at scale. This is where it gets really interesting. We aren't just building one big list of people who like us. We're building segments.
Give me an example of what that looks like.
Take that alcohol distributor example. Over the course of 6 months, they can track behavior. They know who clicked on the single malt whiskey content in March versus who clicked on the wine content in May.
So come Dashain, they don't just get a generic buy booze ad.
No. The whiskey lover gets a targeted offer for a single malt gift set. The wine lover gets a curation of reds. It's using data to segment micro cohorts.
And that level of personalization is the ultimate defense against commoditization. If you know what I drink and you offer me exactly that, I'm probably not going to shop around for a slightly cheaper price from a stranger.
Exactly. You can't commoditize a relationship that feels that personal. And that is an unassailable competitive moat.
This has been such an eye-opener. It really flips the script on how we think about the festival season. It's not about who shouts the loudest. It's about who started the conversation the earliest.
That's the perfect summary. The key to surviving the ad-apocalypse is opting out of the auction. You have to build your own proprietary pipeline. You have to stop renting your customers from the internet giants and start owning them.
So to wrap this up, the message from the source material is stark, but it's also empowering. It puts the control back in the hands of the business.
It does. The source leaves us with a provocative thought that really stuck with me. They wrote, "For the unprepared, the festival season is a celebration of revenue and a silent funeral for profit."
That is a haunting line. A silent funeral for profit. Because the cash register is ringing, but the business is actually dying.
It is, but it doesn't have to be. The funeral is optional.
So the question for you listening today on January 31st, 2026 is this. Are you building an asset today? Or are you just waiting to burn cash in September?
The choice is yours.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.